Imagine the scene. You are standing inside the session hall of the Senate of the Philippines. And, I mean, really picture it.
It's a place designed to make you feel small.
Totally. It is. You've got this heavy, polished, narrow wood everywhere, the cold marble floors, all the seals of the Republic just kind of looking down on you.
Right, it screams history and solemnity.
It's a place that usually smells like old paper and maybe floor wax. But on this particular day, the air is just electric. It's so tense.
It's that kind of tension where you could, hear a pin drop, or in this case, a gavel bang.
Exactly. And the visual here is absolutely crucial. You see Senator Loren Legarda. Now, she's a veteran. She knows how to work a room.
Well, absolutely. She knows where the cameras are.
She is ascending the podium, the high ground, right? She is moving with just absolute purpose. And then you hear Senator Mig Zubiri right there on the floor addressing her.
And this is the key part.
It is. He doesn't say Senator Legarda. He doesn't say my dear colleague. He says Madam President.
A title she does not hold.
Not even close, at least not officially.
Not yet.
Right. And then bang, she brings the gavel down hard.
And for that one single moment, you just tuned in, you'd think the government had just changed hands.
Absolutely. If you were watching this on a mute screen, you would think, okay, new leadership, new era, it's done.
Yeah.
It had all the ceremony of a real transfer of power.
It certainly had all the visual language of a coup. It looked like the climax of a high-stakes political thriller.
Or the season finale of a show that's maybe run a few seasons too long and it needs a big cliffhanger.
Exactly. It feels scripted. It feels like pure drama. But here is the thing that just gets you scratching your head. And honestly, it's what makes the story so bizarre. Just as quickly as that gavel banged, the moment it evaporated. The narrative shifted instantly.
It's like it never happened. The official line coming out of the Senate became, oh, we're cool. We're not threatened. Everything is fine. Just a normal Tuesday.
Which forces us to ask a very, very uncomfortable question. It's one that the editorial we're analyzing today poses right at the start.
Was that real or was it theater?
Was it actual political maneuvering or was it just performance? Was it, to borrow a term from the source material, just cosplay?
Cosplay. I love that the source used that word. It is so perfectly dismissive. It implies they were just, dressing up as coup plotters for a convention?
It's a great word.
Yeah.
But we have to be careful not to dismiss it too quickly.
Oh, for sure. Because while it might have looked like a performance in the end, our sources for this deep dive, specifically a really hard-hitting editorial from Rappler, they suggest that the intent behind it was deadly serious.
Oh, absolutely. This is not an improv class. This was a calculated move that went wrong. The term cosplay is used to describe the result, the failure, not the intent.
So, welcome to the deep dive. Today, we aren't just gossiping about who sits in the big chair. We are trying to understand the machinery behind that gavel bang. We're asking, was this a legitimate coup attempt? And if it was, why did it fizzle out so spectacularly fast?
And more importantly, why now?
Yeah.
Because, and this is so crucial for you to understand, you don't just try to swap out the Senate president for no reason.
Yeah.
It takes immense political capital. It burns bridges. You make enemies for life doing this. There's always a catalyst.
Right. You don't try to overthrow the leadership unless you are absolutely terrified of something.
Precisely. And here is where it gets really, really interesting. The catalyst isn't just about ego. It isn't just about who gets the corner office or who gets to lead the next delegation to Geneva.
It was about a document.
It was about a document, a draft report that terrified a very specific and very powerful group of people in that room.
A draft report from the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee.
The lightning strike, as we're calling it. This was the bolt from the blue that sent them scrambling.
Okay, so we have a failed coup, we have a terrified minority bloc, and we have a secret report. But what are they so terrified of?
They're terrified of an investigation into flood control corruption. And we are not talking about small change here. We are talking about billions of pesos, unfinished projects, and specific damning accusations against sitting senators.
And this is the part that connects the Game of Thrones palace intrigue to the, the kitchen table stuff.
Exactly.
Because while they're playing musical chairs in the Senate, actual streets are flooding. Actual people are losing their homes and their livelihoods to water that should have been diverted.
It is a story about protection, ambition, and ultimately the economy. Because while they maneuver and play their games, the Philippine economy is stalling.
So buckle up. We have got a failed coup, a scandalous report, a Rolls-Royce sold to the Igoritailed Stone Kingdom.
Yes, you heard that right.
We are Definitely going to talk about that and some very, very worrying economic data that ties it all together.
Let's get into it.
All right, let's start with the event itself, Section 1, the cosplay coup. I want to go back to that image of Lagarde on the podium. You mentioned visual language earlier. Why does it matter so much that she physically took the podium? Why couldn't she just, issue a press release saying, I want to be boss now?
Because in parliamentary procedure, the podium is the literal seat of authority. It is not just a piece of fancy furniture.
It's a symbol.
It's more than a symbol. It's an instrument of power. Possessing the podium is possessing the floor. It controls the microphone. It controls the flow of debate, who gets to speak, what gets discussed. When Zubiri called her Madam President, that wasn't a slip of the tongue. In the Senate, at that level, you do not make mistakes like that.
No way. It was a declaration.
It was a declaration of intent. It was a signal to every other senator in that room. We have the numbers. We are taking over. Recognize her authority. It's an attempt to create a fact on the ground.
It's a power move. It's trying to create a reality by acting like it's already true. Like if we all just pretend she's president, she will be.
Exactly. It's fake it till you make it,
Okay.
but on a national constitutional scale.
But they obviously didn't have the numbers, right? I mean, that's the bottom line. Because nothing changed, the coup just fizzled.
So that's the cosplay element. That's why the editorial uses that word, to highlight the sheer absurdity of the outcome. You have this grand theatrical gesture, this banging of the gavel, and then crickets. Silence. It suggests that while the desire to seize power was very real, the execution became almost comical because it collapsed so quickly. It's like a revolution that forgot to send out the invitations.
But Rappler's sources are very clear on this. It was a real attempt. It was not a prank. It just only lasted for a few hours.
A few hours. Could you imagine the panic in those few hours? The back-channeling, the phone calls, the text messages flying back and forth across the session hall.
Are you with us or against us?
What are they offering you? We can offer you more.
And that is where this term transactional politics comes in. The source notes that in the end, the coup failed because transactional politics won.
This is a phrase we hear all the time, transactional politics.
Yeah.
It sounds very academic, very detached, but we need to break this down for you, the listener. What does that actually look like in the Philippine Senate on a Tuesday afternoon when everything's on the line?
Yeah. Does someone literally walk in with a briefcase full of cash? Or is it more subtle than that?
I mean, historically, briefcases of cash have not been unheard of in Philippine politics. But in this specific modern context, it's usually about trading political assets. It means ideology didn't matter, principles didn't matter. What mattered was the deal.
So explain the mechanics. If I'm a senator and I'm on the fence and I see this coup attempt happening, what am I being offered to either join it or to stop it? What am I trading?
You're trading survival, first and foremost. But you're also trading power. You're trading committee chairmanships. A leader from one bloc might go to a wavering senator and say, if you vote for me as president, I will make you the head of the Committee on Finance.
Which is huge. You control the entire national budget.
It's one of the most powerful positions.
Yeah.
Or it could be a threat. If you don't support this coup, I will ensure that the investigation into your district's funds, which we all know about, suddenly disappears.
Wow.
Or it could be something as simple as, I will make sure your pet project, that bridge in your home province, gets funding in the next General Appropriations Act. It's all about leverage.
Ah, so it really is, I'll scratch your back if you don't stab mine.
Precisely. It implies all these backroom deals, this horse trading, and raw survival instincts.
Yeah.
It suggests that the people involved weighed the costs and benefits of pushing the coup through versus backing down, and they made a cold, hard calculation. It wasn't about what was good for the country. It was about what they could get in exchange for their loyalty or, in some cases, just their silence.
And in this specific play, the person they were trying to install, the person they were trading for, was Senator Lauren Lagarde.
Correct. She was the chosen one.
So why her? I mean, she's a veteran senator. She's been around a very long time. She's a recognizable, popular face. But why did the minority group, the ones trying to stage this coup, pick her specifically? Why not someone else from their own bloc?
It's a classic political strategy. You can't just install one of your own attack dogs because you'll never get the majority. You need a face that is acceptable, or at least palatable, to the rest of the body.
A consensus candidate.
Exactly. Lagarde is senior. She has gravitas. She isn't seen as a radical. If you put up someone too controversial, you scare off the moderates whose votes you desperately need.
Yeah.
But You also need someone you can leverage. And the editorial points out two main potential drivers here: ambition and protection.
The carrot and the stick.
The carrot is obvious. It's the Senate presidency itself. It is the third highest office in the land. For a career politician like Lauren Lagarde, that is a massive, massive temptation.
It's the ultimate prize.
It's the capstone to a long career. It puts you in the history books forever. Who wouldn't be tempted by that?
I mean, who wouldn't want that on their Wikipedia page?
Exactly. But the stick, or maybe we should call it the motivation for protection, is where the source gets very specific. And this is where we have to dig a little deeper than just the headlines. They mention something called the solar tail.
The solar tail. This sounds like a fable, but we're talking about her son, Leandro Levist, right?
Yes. The editorial brings up the ongoing criticisms and controversies surrounding her son's deep involvement in the power sector, specifically with the Levis Penis issue.
Okay, so for you, the listener who hasn't been following the energy sector pages of the business section, which, let's be honest, is most of us, catch us up, what is the SPNS issue in a nutshell?
SPNEC is Solar Philippines Nueva Ecija Corporation. It's a massive solar energy entity, one of the biggest players. There have been allegations and criticisms, as the source points out, regarding opportunism in how this company has operated, how it acquired land, and its dealings with the government.
So the implication is that there was favorable treatment or that the playing field wasn't exactly level for competitors.
That's the insinuation. The source actually links to older stories with some pretty intense headlines, like the solar tail, jurisprudence slays Levis thinly veiled tact. That sounds legally heavy.
It does. It implies that there are legal vulnerabilities there. And the point the editorial is making, whether it's true or not, is this. Does Senator Lagarde have something to protect? If her family's massive business interests are under scrutiny, or could be put under scrutiny in the future, having the highest seat in the Senate provides a massive, impenetrable shield.
It's the ultimate defensive position. If you are Senate president, you control the agenda, you control who speaks, you influence committee assignments, you can quash investigations before they even begin.
And for the minority, the group pushing her, the strategy was crystal clear. If they could install a friendly Senate president, someone like Lagarde who might owe them for the position because they put her there, they could regain control of the committees.
And that is the absolute key, isn't it? It's not just about the big chair and the fancy title. It's about the committees. Because the Senate president decides who leads which committee.
Specifically, they decide who runs the single most feared committee in the entire legislature.
The Blue Ribbon Committee.
Okay, let's pause there for a second. We really need to explain the blue ribbon. In other countries, you might have a judiciary committee or an ethics committee. In the Philippines, the blue ribbon is different. It's different. It's almost mythological.
It's officially the Committee on Accountability of Public Officers and Investigations. But in practice, it is the most powerful investigative body in the Senate. It has the power to summon anyone, presidents, billionaires, generals. It can hold them in contempt and have them detained right there in the Senate.
It can recommend prosecution. Historically, the Blue Ribbon Committee is where political careers go to die.
Or, conversely, where political stars are born if you're the one leading the investigation. It can make or break you.
It's the kill switch for any political career.
And if you control the Senate presidency, you essentially control who runs the blue ribbon. And if you control who runs the blue ribbon, you control who gets investigated.
And more importantly, who gets a free pass? Who gets protected?
Exactly.
Which brings us perfectly to Section 2, the catalyst. The lightning strike, the real reason they needed that gavel, and they needed it now.
The Blue Ribbon Committee report on flood control corruption.
You have to understand the timing here. The coup attempt did not happen in a vacuum. It wasn't a random Tuesday. It happened at the exact moment a draft of this report started circulating among the senators for their signatures.
So picture this. You're a senator. You're sitting at your desk, maybe checking your phone, thinking about what's for lunch. An aide brings you this thick document. It's the draft report. You open it up, you start reading, and suddenly you're sweating. Why?
Yeah.
What was in that report?
Names. Big names. The report recommends filing charges, criminal charges against 3 specific sitting senators for their alleged involvement in this massive flood control corruption scheme.
And we should name them, because the source does. You're not speculating here. This is what was in the draft.
The report names Senators Chiz Escudero, Joel Villanueva, and Jingoy Estrada.
The seatmates.
That's the colloquial term for their political bloc. And the accusation is incredibly serious. We are not talking about some minor unethical behavior charge. We're talking about alleged corruption on a massive scale regarding public works projects.
And let's ground this for a moment. When we say flood control corruption, what we mean is that money that was allocated to build a dike or a pumping station or to dredge a river disappeared. Or it was used to buy substandard materials that washed away in the first storm.
And then when the typhoon hits, the water rises and people suffer. People die. That's the real-world consequence.
So this draft report comes out recommending charges. This is a nuclear bomb in the Senate. What was the immediate reaction from the minority bloc and their allies?
Panic and immediate blatant obstruction. According to Rappler's sources, when this draft resolution was circulated for signatures, only 3 senators signed it with reservation.
With reservation. That is such a perfect politician's phrase. It's weasel words. It translates to, I'm signing this because I'll look bad if I don't, but I don't really want to, and I reserve the right to gut it later.
Exactly. But the key phrase they used, the actual mechanism of their obstruction, was that there should be interpolation and amendments later.
Interpolation and amendments later. Okay, to the average listener, that sounds like boring bureaucratic procedure. It sounds so reasonable. Oh, we're just going to discuss it. We want to make it better. But what does it actually mean in this context?
It's a delaying tactic. It's a classic way to kick the can down the road. If you say, let's discuss amendments later, you are preventing the report from being finalized and released to the public now. You are buying time.
Time for what?
Time to water it down. Time to negotiate behind closed doors. Time to remove specific names or change the recommendations from file criminal charges to conduct further study.
Or just time to let the issue die down as the news cycle moves on to the next scandal. It's the death by committee strategy. You talk it to death until everyone gets bored and forgets.
So interpolation becomes a weapon. It's not about achieving clarity. It's about creating confusion and dilution.
Exactly. It sounds reasonable on the surface. We just want to discuss it. But the intent, as the expert analysis from the source suggests, is to soften the blow, to make sure those charges never actually see the light of day.
No, I want to zoom in on one of those names for a second. Senator Chiz Escudero. Because the source makes a really interesting, almost sociological observation about him that I think is worth unpacking.
Yes. It notes that Escudero isn't just a random senator here. He was actually the Senate president during the time some of this alleged corruption took place. That puts him in a very specific position of command responsibility.
But the source also contrasts his political life with his, well, let's just call it his public lifestyle image.
The Heart Evangelista effect, if you will.
Right. His wife is Heart Evangelista, a massive global fashion icon and celebrity. And the source has this killer line. It says, only fashion bloggers cared that there was a $1 million ring on his wife's finger.
It is a fascinating and brutal observation about Filipino society and media culture. The editorial points out that the collective public reaction to this immense, almost unimaginable display of a $1 million ring, the constant trips to Paris Fashion Week, the haute couture, was primarily envy, not hatred.
That hits hard, but it feels true. We see this unbelievable extravagance, $1 million rings, luxury fashion. And instead of asking the hard question, hey, you're a public servant, the math on your official salary doesn't add up, where did this money come from? A lot of the public reaction is, wow, hashtag relationship goals.
It speaks to a certain numbness, or perhaps a fundamental disconnect, in how the public perceives corruption versus lifestyle. The corruption, the details of the flood control kickbacks, is abstract. It's hidden in budget reports and spreadsheets and cement mix formulas.
But the ring is visible. It's on Instagram. It's beautiful. It's aspirational.
Extravagance is love language, as one of the sidebar headlines of the source puts it.
And the source is highlighting the deep irony that while the public was fawning over the fashion, the alleged corruption that might have funded that very lifestyle was going completely unnoticed by most. The editorial strongly suggests a direct link between the missing flood control funds and the immense wealth being displayed.
That is an incredibly heavy accusation to lay at someone's feet.
It is. But that's the whole point of a blue ribbon report. It's supposed to connect those dots.
And that public disconnect, that focus on celebrity over substance, is exactly what allows this kind of transactional politics to survive and thrive. If the public isn't outraged by the source of the wealth, there's far less pressure on the senators to be accountable for it.
But now, because of this report, the pressure is on. And this report exists because of one man who is apparently refusing to play the game.
Senator Ping Lacson.
Which brings us to Section 3, the battle for the committee. This is the heavyweight fight. In one corner, you have the current chairman, Ping Lacson, and in the other corner, or maybe the shadow corner, you have the ghost of the previous leadership, specifically Senator Rodante Marcoleta.
It's a fundamental clash of ideologies, or at least a clash of methods, regarding how the Blue Ribbon Committee should be run. Lacson is the one pushing for this report to be released. He is the one who sent out the draft that caused the citywide panic in the Senate.
And he is not being subtle about it at all. The source quotes a headline where he basically tells his critics to shut the F up.
Yeah, he was telling his critics to shut up about what the probe has or hasn't accomplished. He is clearly on the offensive. He wants these findings out in the open. He's staking his reputation on it.
Now, contrast that with the old guard, represented by Rodante Marcoleta.
Marcoleta represents the previous approach, the previous dominance in the committee, and the source draws a very sharp, very clear contrast here, using a specific group of people, the Discayas.
The Discayas, who are they?
They are contractors. Big-time public works contractors. They're the ones who are directly linked to the corruption allegations in these multi-billion peso flood control projects.
Okay, so these are the people allegedly getting the money to build the dams and the levees that aren't working or don't exist.
Correct. Now, look at the fundamental difference in how they were treated by the committee under these two different leaders. Lacson is on record asking, why are you protective of the Discayas? He's publicly questioning the cozy relationship between certain senators and these contractors. He's putting them on the hot seat.
And Marcoleta, what was his approach?
Under Marcoleta's leadership, the committee previously recommended that the Discayas be put under witness protection.
Wait, witness protection, you mean protecting them from prosecution?
Ostensibly, the reason given is to use them as state witnesses. But the strong implication from the source is that this was a move to shield them, to keep them close, to control their testimony, and ensure they didn't say the wrong things to the wrong people.
So one chairman wants to investigate them as suspects, and the previous one wanted to protect them as witnesses.
That is the fundamental battle line right there.
Yeah.
It's night and day. Lacson is treating them like potential criminals. Marcoleta's committee treated them like assets to be protected.
And speaking of the Discayas and their assets, we have to talk about the car.
Oh, the Rolls Royce.
Yeah.
It's the perfect detail.
This detail just blew my mind. I had to read it 3 times to make sure I wasn't making it up. The source mentions a sidebar story. Discayas' Rolls-Royce sold for $29 million to the Igorot Stone Kingdom.
It is a staggering detail. $29 million for a single car.
That is more money than most Filipinos will earn in 10 lifetimes. Let that sink in. And it was sold to the Igorot Stone Kingdom. What even is that?
It's a tourist attraction in Baguio, a man-made park with large stone carvings.
Okay, but why does a tourist attraction need a 29 million peso Rolls-Royce? Is it a ride? Is it a display piece?
The source doesn't specify, and honestly, the absurdity is the entire point. It's a detail that illustrates the sheer, mind-boggling scale of the wealth involved in these kickbacks. This is the kind of money we're talking about.
It's textbook money laundering, isn't it? You turn dirty cash into a hard asset like a luxury car, and then you sell that asset to move the money around and make it look clean. It certainly has all the hallmarks of that. But just picture the optics of it. A contractor who is supposed to be building flood walls to save people's homes and lives is driving a car that costs more than a small town's annual budget.
While the flood walls remain unbuilt or are made of sand.
It makes you want to scream, doesn't it? It really highlights the grotesque absurdity of the wealth concentration at the heart of this corruption.
And it underscores why the what-if scenario of the coup is so genuinely scary.
Right. Let's really play that out. If the coup had succeeded, if Lauren Lagarde had taken the podium and stayed there, if the minority blot had won that day, what happens to Senator Lacson?
He's gone. He's immediately ousted from the Blue Ribbon Committee chairmanship. Tito Soto, who supports him, loses his power base. A new Senate president friendly to the minority bloc takes over.
And if Lacson is gone,
then that report, the one that terrified them into action, it likely disappears or gets restudied, amended, and interpolated until it's a completely toothless document that blames no one.
the Discayas breathe a huge sigh of relief. They probably buy another Rolls-Royce. The 3 senators, Escudero, Villanueva, Estrada, don't face charges. The whole thing gets swept under the rug.
The phrase the source uses to describe the minority's mindset is chillingly simple. Cross the bridge when they get there.
That was their whole strategy. Overthrow the investigators first. Stop the bleeding. Seize control of the committee, then worry about the details and the cover-up later. It was a desperate, tactical, and purely self-serving move.
And it's terrifying how close they came. Just a few hours of political cosplay that could have erased months, maybe years, of painstaking investigation.
But it failed. The coup failed. However, the damage from all of this is already done, and it's not just to the Senate's reputation.
This is where we need to pivot. Because I can hear you, the listener, asking, okay, this is all very juicy. Rich people fighting over chairs and Rolls Royces. It's entertaining, like a telenovela. But does it actually affect me?
And the answer from our sources is a resounding, unequivocal yes. This is not just Senate drama. This is kitchen table reality. This is your wallet. This is your job.
Let's talk about Section 4, the real-world impact. Why should you, listening to this right now, actually care about any of this?
Because while the Senate was busy playing its Game of Thrones, the Philippine economy was taking a massive, measurable hit, specifically because of the very corruption they're trying so hard to cover up.
The source draws a direct, straight line from this political mess to unemployment.
Yes. Let's look at the hard data points provided. Data that was just released last week showed that unemployment did not decrease in December.
And for context, December is usually the golden month for jobs in the Philippines, right? It's the Christmas season, retail is booming, you've got the holiday hiring spree. Unemployment almost always dips because malls are hiring extra staff, delivery services are hiring, restaurants are hiring.
Exactly. It's a reliable seasonal trend that economists count on. But this time, unemployment stayed flat at 4.4%. That is a major anomaly. It's a red flag.
So why? What happened to cancel out all that Christmas hiring?
The source is very specific. The quote is, a historic low in public infrastructure, spending, and activity.
Translate that for us. What does that mean in simple terms?
It means the government wasn't building things. The public infrastructure projects, the roads, the bridges, and yes, the flood control systems were stalled. They were frozen.
And when you stop building?
You stop hiring. It's that simple. Construction workers don't have jobs. The people who drive the trucks to transport the cement and the steel, the transport and storage workers, they don't have jobs. The carinderia lady who sets up shop near the construction site to feed the workers, she doesn't sell any lunch. It has a massive ripple effect.
So all the gains in the service sector, the people working in malls for Christmas, were completely canceled out by the huge losses in the construction and related sectors.
Precisely. The corruption scandal, the subsequent investigations, the political uncertainty, it all grinds the projects to a halt. When there is a scandal of this magnitude, disbursements stop. Government officials become afraid to sign off on payments. And when the projects stop, the paychecks stop for thousands upon thousands of ordinary Filipino workers.
So that construction worker who is out of a job right now, he's not out of a job because of some abstract market forces. He might be out of a job because funds for his project were diverted to buy a Rolls Royce or because a senator is protecting a contractor.
That is the direct line of causality the source is drawing. It is undeniable.
And it gets worse. It's not just jobs, it's prices, it's inflation.
The Banco Central ng Pilipinas, the central bank, is reporting, and I'm quoting here, a weakening outlook and declining business sentiment.
Declining business sentiment. That's banker speak, for we are very, very worried.
It means investors are scared. And when businesses don't feel confident about the future, they don't invest. They don't expand. They don't hire new people. They just hold on to their cash and wait for the storm to pass.
And what are they citing as a specific cause for this worry?
They explicitly cite the flood control corruption scandal. It is toxic to business confidence. If local and foreign investors see that government contracts are rigged, that public money is being stolen, and that basic infrastructure isn't being built, they take their money elsewhere. Why would you invest in a country where the foundations are literally crumbling?
The source mentions that 2025 inflation rose to 1.8% in December, but then you look at the projection for January 2026.
It says it hits an 11-month high.
And what's driving that spike in prices?
Costlier utilities and rent.
Okay, connect the dots for us. How does a fight over a blue ribbon report in the Senate make my Morocco bill or my rent go up?
It's a chain reaction. When infrastructure fails, when roads are bad and constantly flooded, when ports are inefficient, transporting goods becomes more expensive for businesses. They have to pay more for fuel, for repairs, for delays. And they pass that cost on to you, the consumer.
So my vegetables cost more.
Your vegetables cost more. When dams aren't built or maintained properly, water management fails, which can affect power generation and clean water supply. Utilities get more expensive. Scarcity and inefficiency drive up prices. And who pays for that? at the end of the day.
We do, every single one of us.
So this Senate coup, this refusal to sign a report, this political theater, it's not just abstract. It is actively making your life more expensive and your job less secure.
That is just infuriating. It really puts that cosplay comment in a completely different light. They are playing dress up while the house is on fire.
And that brings us to the core accusation of the entire editorial. Section 5, the coddlers.
The title of the editorial is literally, "Who are the coddlers in the Senate?"
It's such a powerful word, coddler. It's
Yeah.
a word you usually use for parents who spoil their children rotten. But here, in this political context, it implies treating someone with excessive care, protecting them from consequences when they should be disciplined.
So in this context, who is a coddler? What's the definition?
The expert definition here would be a senator who prioritizes tribalism over their sworn duty, someone who chooses friendship, protecting their seatmates over their solemn obligation to the public good.
That seatmates concept again, it really is like a high school clique.
Yeah.
You don't rat on your friends. We sit together at lunch, so I have your back no matter what you did.
But this is in high school. This is the Senate of the Republic of the Philippines. The stakes are justice, public funds, and governance.
The editorial makes a direct demand. It says they must stop the tribalism.
Yes, the entire argument is that these senators must prove that they are honorable, a title they love to use for themselves. And the only way to do that is to not give the corrupt a free pass. You cannot claim to be honorable if you are actively shielding dishonorable acts.
So what is the specific action required? What do they need to do right now, today, to prove to the public that they aren't coddlers?
Release the Blue Ribbon Report. And crucially, the majority of the Senate should sign it.
No, with reservations, no interpolation later, no more games. Just sign the thing.
Exactly. Sign it. Validate the findings. Accept the truth wherever it leads. Say, yes, we see the evidence, we've done the work, and we agree with the recommendations. The public clamor for justice regarding the flood control mess is intense. People are angry. They see the floods in their streets. They feel the inflation in their wallets. And they know about the corruption.
And yet, as the source points out, only a few have actually been charged.
And that is the source of the deep public frustration. Justice delayed is justice denied. And the supreme irony, as the editorial points out, is that this ridiculous coup attempt stole the limelight from the actual important work of accountability.
Instead of spending the week talking about how to fix the broken flood control system or how to expedite the prosecution of the corrupt, we spent days talking about whether Loren Legarda banged a gavel or not.
The Senate spent its valuable time on internal power plays instead of governance. And the verdict of the editorial is just scathing. The minority is undermining the core duty of the Senate for vested interests.
Vested interests. That's the most polite way of saying saving their own skins.
Or their friends' skins. Or their financial backers' skins. It's a closed loop of protection, and the public is not invited.
So where does this leave us? We've covered the fake coup, the very real report, the absurd Rolls-Royce corruption, and the painful economic fallout.
I think we need to step back for a moment and look at the institution itself, at what this all means.
Let's wrap this up in our outro. The timeline is now crystal clear. A draft report targets 3 powerful senators, Escudero, Villanueva, Estrada. The minority panics. They try to install Legarda as Senate president to gain control of the committee that's investigating them. It fails. But the attempt itself reveals just how far they are willing to go to protect their own.
And we must never, ever forget the cost. It is not abstract. It's not just political news. It is construction jobs lost. It is rising prices for food and rent. It is a stalled economy. It is real suffering for millions of ordinary Filipinos.
The source asks a final provocative question aimed directly at the senators. Is it really all about your vested interest?
It is a question that cuts right to the bone. It asks them to look in the mirror and decide who they really serve.
And here is a final thought for you, the listener, to mull over as you go about your day. We always talk about the principle of checks and balances in government. The Senate is supposed to be a check on corruption. The Blue Ribbon Committee is supposed to be the watchdog.
But what happens when the check decides to protect the balance? What happens when the watchdog decides to join the wolves?
Exactly. If the majority of the Senate refuses to sign a report that clearly implicates their own friends and colleagues, does the Senate cease to be a legislative body in that moment?
And simply become an exclusive private club for the protected. A club where membership comes with immunity from the law and the annual dues are paid by the public through their taxes and their suffering.
It's a chilling thought, Because if they cannot or will not police themselves, who is left to police them?
That is the question we all need to be asking. And perhaps the answer lies in how we vote, and more importantly, in how we demand accountability every single day, not just during elections.
And on that note, we are going to leave you to think about it. This has been The Deep Dive. Thanks for listening.
Stay informed and stay critical.